Hello everyone, this is a study guide. It's going to focus on human rights violations and a little bit about space. And if you see a question stating a stadium with a bloody past in the dirty war, know this is talking about some of the human rights abuses that happened in Chile and Argentina in the 80s and the 70s. And political opponents were kidnapped. Political opponents disappeared, and they were probably murdered. Nothing was ever found from them. So the kidnapping of political opponents in Argentina and Chile. Next, discovery of fire, the Columbian Exchange, and the development of the internet. These are probably some of the biggest turning points in history. And the development of the internet is still impacting life as we know it today. If you take a look, reported People's Republic of China aid by the different regions. They're giving aid to Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia, giving all sorts of loans. China is focusing on developing regions in order to advance economic interests. And if you're taking a look, China is giving lots of countries lots of monetary aid to try and build relations with those countries. You may take a look at steps in Stalin's divide and rule policy. Well, when Lenin dies in 1924, Stalin's going to make all these different changes, and he's going to expel Trotsky, banish Trotsky from Russia forever, and he's going to, basically be bullying any opponents of his government. That was Joseph Stalin. You will also see a question talking about the conference opening on creating a court to try war crimes. That was a big thing. Genocide in Rwanda, investigating violence in Darfur, and different war crimes courts. These are all dealing with human rights violations. You may see a political cartoon saying the Deng Memorial, and there's a statue of the goddess of democracy statue toppled, bleeding, broken in pieces, and the statue says democracy in Tiananmen Square. And this is all dealing with tyranny and the tyrants in the Chinese Communist government. And this cartoon also is going to deal with human rights issues. The Chinese government launched a crackdown in 1989 and killed or arrested any of the protesters in Tiananmen Square, represented by the toppled goddess of democracy statue. You'll take another look at a political cartoon that has a barbed wire fence. On the right side, there are people with the Star of David and the striped prison uniforms. The world stood by while we suffered too. The people on the right are from the Holocaust, Jews that suffered under the Nazis. And then on the left, you'll see people wrapped in, raggedy clothes, a lady holding a child, starving, and it says Darfur. So basically, the world continues to ignore human rights violations. That's sort of what this cartoon, that's exactly what this cartoon is showing. Next, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written in response to the atrocities during World War II and the Holocaust. Another question, the Armenian massacre in 1910 and the forced famine in the Ukraine in the 1930s are examples of human rights violations. Another question, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 and the founding of Amnesty International in 1961 are both associated with efforts to recognize and protect the dignity and human rights of individuals. So the treatment of untouchables in India, the treatment of Jews during the Holocaust, and the treatment of Chinese students during the Tiananmen Square demonstration are all examples of human rights violations. So the division of Germany and the division of Korea following World War II led to an uneven economic development between the divided portions of the nations. The communist side's economies lagged far behind the democratic capitalist side's economies. You'll see another political cartoon that says never again Cambodia, never again Rwanda, never again Bosnia, never again Darfur. And the United Nations, never again. And this is just showing that the United Nations has not been effective in ending genocide. You'll see another political cartoon with nuclear bombs, the US, China, Russia, Britain, and now India. And it says, yoo-hoo, look everybody, I've got one too. And it's basically showing these nuclear bombs are controlling the leaders of these countries. And this issue, in this cartoon, the issue is nuclear proliferation and the spreading of nuclear weapons all around the world. The Nuremberg Trials are considered an important event in the 20th century because the Nuremberg Trials established the principles of responsibility for human rights violations after World War II, persecuting war criminals like the Nazis. One way Joseph Stalin's 5-year plan and Mao's Great Leap Forward are similar is that both plans were attempts to increase agriculture and industrial production, and they were in communist countries. The annexation of Korea and Japan's invasion of Manchuria were attempts of Japan to acquire natural resources. The Japanese just went and took over more people and took their land. Now, you'll see the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, all their articles, and this is reflected by the philosophy of the Age of Enlightenment, that, everyone is entitled to their rights and freedoms, and there won't be discrimination. That's totally like the Enlightenment age, and that's seen in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And lastly, in South Africa, you'll see white rule, 2 white South Africans sitting on a table saying, here's to our South African economy, and here's to our high standard of living. And then you'll see the black majority rising up in South Africa saying job boycott. And he's saying, here's to the black workers who gave it to you. And this is showing that it was the work of all the black South Africans that gave the white South African minority such a high standard of living. And finally, the black South African workers are launching a massive job boycott to get rid of the minority rule. And economic actions taken by black South Africans is the correct answer. Watch this a few times. Good luck on the test. Everybody have a great one.